Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us at Digital Fashion Week New York, September 2022. This is our third panel discussion, Avatars and Inclusivity, Virtual Personas, Body Positivity and Self-Expression, a very hot topic as we move into the future. So we have Zofia from Glossy magazine who is moderating the conversation. I'm going to let Zofia introduce herself and then she will let everybody else introduce themselves as well. I'm really looking forward to this very, very important topic. So thank you so much. I'm going to disappear and I will see you all later on in the discussion. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Claire. Hi, everyone. My name is Zofia Zwieglinska. I'm an international fashion reporter covering sustainability and the metaverse for Glossy. Glossy is a US publication and we cover B2B fashion and beauty news and specifically innovation. So I'm very excited here to talk about avatars and to introduce or let the panelists introduce themselves and kind of what companies they're coming from and what their specialism might be. So maybe if we can just go around from the top, maybe Morgan, if you can start.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Morgan, co-founder and VP Eng at Bold Metrics. We have a AI technology that's used to create AI body models that can be used in buying clothes online, generating avatars in the metaverse, or even buying clothes in the metaverse for yourself in the real world. We launched a body data NFT this year, and yeah, very excited and honored to be here. I think this is such an important topic. So yeah, thanks for having us.
Brilliant. Nicole, could you start?
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole. I'm the CEO and founder of Modern Mirror. And at Modern Mirror, we're really a fashion innovation house 3.0. But what we really specialize in is our system called the Avant-Garde Fitting System, which is for both in-store as well as for online purposes for virtual try-on for the luxury fashion industry. So we are definitely excited to, I'm excited to be here representing the company and talking about avatars and the metaverse and what that looks like going forward.
Brilliant. Kenneth?
Hi, I'm Kenneth. I'm CXO at Emotion. So Emotion, we provide high quality 3D fashion design, rendering, and simulation technology for fashion apparel, metaverse for humans. It's interesting because I'm in the fashion tech now, but before I was at a company called Hypersense. Hypersense, we developed a real-time facial motion technology for avatar animation. I'm very excited to talk about the avatar again. Thank you.
Brilliant. And Matthew?
Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Bennett. I'm from Human Solutions of North America. Our company specializes in body scanning technology, and I'm the manager of our body scanning division there. And the application with the apparel industry is we provide human body models and human body measurement data to technical designers to help improve sizing and fitting in the apparel industry. And then we also are able to create digital models and physical models so they can design in both 3D and in real life.
Brilliant. Well, thank you again, everyone. And it's great to have such an informed panel here when it comes to avatars. I think it'd be great to get, an introduction into, what are avatars and kind of how that looks like. I'm not sure if any one of you would like to take that away first, but then maybe we can go into a little bit more as to what is going on with them and inclusivity and body tech.
Well, I can jump in. So for us, I'll be honest, the word avatar, we try to say the word digital self, because the way we approach avatars, the way everyone approaches avatars is very different, and the other panels can share their thoughts on it as well. But how we look at it is we're really creating our digital self. So with our 3D imaging systems and such, what we do is we capture the realism of the person, and it's replicating that realism from everything from the facial movements, the blinking, the motion, the hair, the texture of the face, the whole bit, into creating a 3D body model of that person so they can truly see an accurate representation of themselves and how the clothing would drape can fit on their actual selves when they're going to purchase. So for us, we say digital selves, but that's our take in regards to the avatars. But there's all kinds of avatars, and it's amazing to see how the different use cases are being used as well in the metaverse. It's quite mind expanding as well, being able to create whatever type of version of yourself in the metaverse through different types of avatars and systems that are currently out there.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
dovetailing off of what Nicole was saying. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting, right? Because everybody has a different definition based on the application. And so I think it can be very broad, just like the metaverse itself can be very broad, right? Like some people consider Fortnite and Roblox a metaverse. Others go, no, that's a game, and only Sandbox and Decentraland are true metaverses. And well, does it have to be decentralized or centralized? But with avatars, I really think like at its core, the most broad way to look at it is it's really like the way that you express yourself in a virtual world. Right. And so it can be that you're using it, like the use case Nicole is talking about. If you're using it to understand, like, how would these clothes look on me? You're going to want like a photorealistic avatar that accurately matches your body dimensions, will show exactly how the clothes look and drape on your body. And then there's the whole other side of it. I'm a part of an NFT community, Bored Ape Yacht Club, that some people may have heard of, that, a lot of us are very excited about having these 3D rigged bored apes in the metaverse. And there's a huge draw as having those as a way to like express yourself. So it depends really, I think, on the use case of if it's to do something that mirrors what you're doing in real life, or if it's to be able to like express yourself and your personality in the metaverse.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that that's actually a great point to kind of jump off on and, figure out, what does self-expression look like in the metaverse? Is it different to, how people express themselves on social media currently, which is technically, another form of digital self, where you're accumulating a different form of personality to what you are like in real life, but, without that digital personification, let's say, with a digital model. So what would that look like when it comes to self-expression in the metaverse? Do you think that concept is going to evolve?
Okay, I'll jump back in. Anyone else that wants to jump in, I will. I'll promise I'll mute myself. But basically with social media, it's interesting with social media, right? Because it currently doesn't quite accurately represent our reality, but it does more so than really what the metaverse does, right? So we're looking at two different things, because really in the metaverse, all bets are off, right? Because it's synthetic worlds. You can have virtual personas and interact with these amazing environments, that within traditional social media, you can't, right? But we have filters, which are amazing, and everyone has taken to them. But again, as we said, it's mind expanding. It can be very liberating, but it also can cause, I believe, issues and anxiety, social issues and anxieties and conflicts. As an example, on social media, I'm going to admit, yes, on some of my photos, when I'm not wearing enough contour, I use a filter, okay, on some of those photos. I will be the first person to admit it. But I look at, and even though we've got some amazing filters, like with FaceApp and those sorts of things, I still look and I go, oh, but I still in social media want to see myself in real life. I want to get as close as I possibly can, just an enhanced version, if that makes sense, because I don't want to go completely don't look like myself. And then my followers or my contacts or my friends are that's not you. So it's more of an enhancement that I look at it from that perspective. As for the metaverse, though, I said is all bets are off, but there is an interesting study that came up through the Institute of Digital Fashion. And I'm trying to remember the statistics, but I believe they said 29 survey respondents said that, the metaverse is a place where they can escape and find that identity and be somebody that they can't be in real life. However, 87% of the survey came back saying they want their digital identities to coordinate with their in real life identities. So I'm going to be quiet now, and I would love to hear everyone else's thoughts on this.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Good thing to note about the the mental health aspect of social media and how that's kind of had somewhat of a negative impact on people. And I think that certainly the metaverse can contribute in a more positive way and allow people's inner beings to be more easily expressed. Being creative and there's no limits in the metaverse, right? So you can literally be in whatever world you choose to try to create for yourself, which I think is a really positive thing. And yeah, so for as far as the social media thing goes, I mean, yeah, we do. It's just enough to alter reality, but we're not like stepping through into an entirely different place, right? So I think we've seen this a little bit too when during the pandemic, even when we were starting to wear masks and things. People really like getting really creative with their mask and expressing, themselves in that regard, right? So I think this was kind of like one instance where that kind of crossed over, where we could sort of, reveal a little bit of our true identities, or without being, completely known to the world, which I think is kind of, somewhere where there was like a little bit of synergy with that. So I'm interested to see kind of how that goes in the metaverse, especially with avatar creation and things like that, and how people, design themselves and express themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Ken, do you have anything else to offer?
Yeah, I mean, so I would like to say like three things which may differentiate the virtual persona from the ones in social media. The first one is definitely, in virtual world, you can become like whoever or whatever you want, and also because of that, there's no privacy issue or real life issue. I mean, now here just because I mean, for this call, I like in this so here, this is like 10 a.m. in the morning in my place. But for the call, I took a shower and, instead of wearing a hoodie, I wear like some t-shirt to here to have a call with you guys. But, in virtual world, there's no privacy, no identity. So you can just become anything. And so you have a lot of freedom. But the most important thing is that because of that, you don't get biased by your looks. I mean, like let's say like skin color or age or like even gender, so that you can focus more on the like messages you would like to deliver to other people in the world. So it's more on the like personality or the intention that you would like to have with your avatar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I agree with that. It's really, I mean, I see this all as just like a huge win for self-expression. I think, kind of what you were just saying about how, we come to something like this, it's like, I kind of have like my few shirts that I wear for when I'm on like a professional Zoom thing. And like, we all do that and we kind of get cleaned up. But it's interesting because like I changed my Twitter profile pretty early on last year to my Bored Ape, which is now a blue ape with VR glasses and a cowboy hat. And it was the first time I've ever like expressed myself beyond just like kind of how I've dressed for the last 20 years. And I found it really empowering, but I also found it helped create like new connections where, you're kind of able to show that maybe you are a bit more of like an expressive person than somebody might see, because people do end up judging by looks. But that goes back to the inclusivity part, right? Of like, you do have to, there's a line there, right? You do have to be careful in what you're using and making sure it's not something that's offensive to someone. I think that's what we're going to see kind of develop in the metaverse now is, when people change avatars, where is the line between a fun, funny avatar that's expressive and where does that go too far and people feel like it might not be, either inclusive or appropriate for them. And that's what I think we're going to, all end up tackling as the metaverse becomes more prevalent.
Yeah, definitely. I absolutely agree with that point. I think that there was a project relatively recently which had to be scrapped because of that aspect. It was just simply expressing something that would be considered, I think, quite offensive in real life. And I think that those boundaries are not quite as free as some people might think. I think that in the metaverse there is still a sense of, you have to express your identity, of course, but it has to be, done with respect and, value for the communities involved. And I think that that takes it away to the people who are creating, PFPs and avatars. What role does inclusivity have, on the design part? Like, what does that have to do with how the metaverse is created, how future avatars look like? What do you guys think?
I can kick it off and I'll keep it short, but I think it's going to be very metaverse dependent. Like currently I interact in like 3 metaverses, Fortnite probably primarily, and I buy a bunch of outfits in Fortnite and change that almost every time I play. But then I also interact in Decentraland and in the Sandbox, and they're all very different. Fortnite currently probably has some of the most like realistic lifelike avatars. Decentraland is probably not very far behind. And then when you look at the Sandbox, it's very blocky, almost like Minecraft. And so I think when you look at the comparisons, it's going to depend a lot on the metaverses. I think what Facebook Meta is doing, they've got a huge team in the UK focusing on like super photorealistic humans, because they want to really provide an experience like Zoom, but where we're all here together and we look exactly like ourselves. So you have like kind of that full spectrum, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else want to chime in?
I think with inclusivity too is, and this might be going a little bit off topic, but I think it's also, especially those that are involved in making the avatars and the ones that have body scanners, those sorts of things, and we're moving into this realm. I think it's very important though, that we're actually reaching out to the industries that we are, that these applications of the utility is being used for. For example, in fashion, it's really important that we are actually speaking to our end users, that we are speaking to our designers and our brands to make sure that we are building what they want to see, right? Not just what we think is they're wanting. So I think when it comes to inclusivity part, and this kind of goes hand in hand, and again, it might be a little bit off topic, but I'm coming from the fashion industry, so not really the gaming industry, but for models, for example, how do we make it so models, their careers can evolve into the metaverse, and what does that look like from an inclusivity? So what we're looking at doing is actually bringing the people to the table to hear what they want to see in the metaverse and how they want to interact, and make sure that that's what we're building and that's what our focus is going forward. And I think it's just something it's great because there's so much creativity out there. But I also think for us that are business leaders is to really sit down with the parties involved and say, how do you envision this? What do you want to see? And what do your customers and clients want to see? And what are your values when it comes to this and what we're building?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with that. I think that there's a really interesting conversation, as you mentioned, models. I recently covered, I think it was on Monday, about model agency Photogenics, who's come out with a avatar division. So now models are able to have a replica of themselves where they're able to participate in the digital world through platforms, potentially anyway, like Roblox, Fortnite, or Decentraland, where they'll be able to have a job similarly to how they have it in real life, advertising products in the metaverse, and potentially getting involved with PFPs and other forms of digital creation in the metaverse. I think that really shows an interesting way of how things are going to go. Like, do you think that everyone is going to have an avatar who will also be able to be earning for them on the side? Do you think that that's something that's going to be limited to professionals already in the industry like models?
Well,
what do you guys think?
I love that.
I know that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
All I was just going to add on to is I love the fact that you went after that topic, and I read that it was brilliant. Some of the stuff that they're doing. All I was going to say is, yeah, when we were looking at this, it was like, how do you evolve the role of, as the fashion industry evolves, how do you evolve the role of a model, right? And how does their career evolve? But just like social media and Instagram, now what we're seeing is more inclusivity. This is, and again, I'm kind of approaching the fashion industry of it, but we've seen the fashion industry adopt a lot of inclusive, like it's been extremely diverse now. What a model used to be in the 90s is not what we see today, which is amazing. So that's the wonderful thing about the social media, is it's allowed people to express themselves and and be models, and they didn't have to be at a professional agency and those sorts of things. So I think to answer that question, we are going to see that there are more possibilities for influencers and more like avatar influencers going forward in the metaverse. Sorry, Matthew, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I just know that currently we've already done some things like this with creating avatars for fit models and such. And as you mentioned, yeah, models don't look like they used to. And we've done models for curvy models and, you know, all different types of body shapes. And so this is something I know that's already being done. Now, how it translates into the metaverse, you know, it's mainly just been used for technical design and things like that at this point. But sure, certainly there's no reason why it wouldn't be an easy transition into the metaverse to just simply take that same avatar that's already been designed on and upload it into your favorite platform. I mean, you know, depending on which particular metaverse you're in, certainly there may be some different challenges that arise as a result of that. But yeah, it's already certainly being done for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Ken, Morgan, do you have anything else you would like to add?
Well, so, you know, in real world, like, well, first you have to be either like you have to be a brand company, or you have to be popular before you make revenue with your like fashion design. And that's another reason why I appreciate it clear that you organize this event for individual fashion designers to showcase their creative design at the show, especially for digital design. Well, well, when I talked to had a conversation with the you know, Zefero, the metaverse platform, US CEO of US, Zefero US, he told me once that the revenue from the creators is more than the revenue from brand store at Zefero. It means that even if you are like random person, if you come up with a great fashion design for the Zefero platform, you make more money than even the brand stores. So one individual designer, he's like number 2 or number 3 on the revenue ranking in fashion store at Zefero. It's like more than any other brand design. So definitely metaverse will provide opportunity for the fashion industry, even if you are not a like famous person. In metaverse, it's possible there's a lot of opportunities that you can make revenue.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think, you know, I think NFTs enable a lot of this. I mean, we're really, I think, moving into like a new frontier when it comes to, you know, how people can not necessarily even become influencers, but do creative things and actually get the credit for it. And I think NFTs, you know, allow for that uniqueness. One kind of example I always think of is Jenkins the Ballet, which is somebody that had a Bored Ape avatar, got signed by CAA, produced a book, had people involved in that book. Now, every time that book sells, everyone with an NFT that was in that book gets a cut of that revenue. And that's all streaming from a CAA signed NFT persona. And it's still really early, right? So I think you could definitely have, you know, whether it's a fit model or a regular model or a fashion influencer or someone from a totally different industry, have an entirely new outlet to be able to express themselves, but also generate revenue and actually have that tied back to them. I think the NFT is the key part of that, where you actually have traceability and uniqueness. And obviously there's a lot of ways I think NFTs will be used on the sustainability side as well.
I just wanted to make one point. I love what Kenneth and Morgan brought up, because it's true. We actually are seeing it with designers, and it's all out there, but it's giving people as well who've never might have not been able to been given that opportunity in real life. We actually have one of our digital designers. He is an amazing designer. His talent is incredible. I've never seen someone spend so much time on clothes than he has. And his name is Sam. He's absolutely brilliant. He pumps out more designs than anybody else in our company or anybody else I know in the creativity, but he's not given an opportunity in real life in the past because Sam is a man with Down syndrome. And I look and going, what we've been able to do with Sam is he built his own NFT, right? And he did that in a collaboration with a model, Victoria Modesta, who is a model who has a prosthetic leg. And together they did a beautiful collaboration coming together, showing abilities versus disabilities, right? And also taking on the sustainability aspect. But so just agreeing with what you guys are saying, there are so many opportunities for designers and to also be showcased. The only thing with Sam, though, I will say, is Sam does want that his digital version of his garments to actually be on the physical runway. So we are going to figure out how to make that happen, because to him, that is really more important, is to be not just seen in a digital realm, but be recognized in reality, in real life. So, and how do we cross that over?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that we've talked a lot about fashion. Sorry, Ken, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I mean, Nicole, Chloe's our competitor, so tell Sam to try out software. So we're gonna make it work more, creative and
Amazing. We'll definitely get him on that. So yes, thank you, Kenneth.
I know that we've talked a lot about fashion, but obviously a lot of that creativity is kind of focused around, wearables, around avatar creation. I think that you made a really great point, Nicole, about the fact that it allows for a lot more inclusivity in this space, where typically, even recently, it's just not been there. I think that there's a lot of campaigners who can say that, fashion is not a particularly inclusive environment. It doesn't allow for great body positivity. I think I even saw an article a couple of weeks ago about, the types of garments that people are putting on plus size models in Copenhagen. And it still seems like a lot of it is very, very similar, kind of bodycon dresses, that kind of thing. And I think that that's the same with digital fashion, that it's an opportunity for people to showcase something very different to what is going on in real life. And I think that that also extends to avatars. What are the kind of possibilities that might not be possible, in a real set environment with models versus digital ones? I mean, I know, Morgan, you've already said that your PFP has certain characteristics that you might not. What else do you guys think might be a possibility to kind of bring out that inclusive element with avatars?
I have a really good example, somewhat similar to Nicole's. For people who aren't familiar, there's a very, very popular metaverse game, probably equal popularity to Fortnite, called World of Warcraft. People have been playing for years. And I went to a conference that Blizzard, the studio that produces that game, held, and met a woman in a wheelchair who's been playing World of Warcraft for 5 years. And she said it's been such an amazing experience, because she says, oh, in World of Warcraft, like, I'm this huge orc, I fight dragons, and like, she was surrounded by people. She's like, these are all my friends. Like, this is my first time meeting them in real life. Like, we've like quested together, and like, they were all like so close. And she was saying, like, I couldn't do this in the real world, but she said, I can do this here. And I think we'll see more and more of that in the metaverse, because it really creates an equal playing field. And I think it also just creates something more acceptable when it comes to self-expression. Kind of going back to my example, if I showed up on this panel wearing a cowboy hat, VR glasses, like, that would be weird. Like, we're like not ready for that. But if I do that and we're all hanging out in the metaverse, you guys would be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, that's funny, right? And so, I think both of those sides, you have the ability to allow people to do whatever they want to do and have a completely equal playing field where they can really be whoever they want to be, enable self-expression, but then kind of bring it back to the real world. I do think there is a huge market that's evolving now around having a photorealistic avatar, because I'm not going to want to be a silly character all the time. Like, you're still going to have meetings with clients and with your team. You're going to want to be yourself. You're going to want to be photorealistic, and then you'll be buying digital clothing. And then to have a physical twin, that's, I think, where there's a lot of really interesting things going on. Nike is doing some of this with Artifact. Adidas is doing some of this with Into the Metaverse, a collaboration that they have with Bored Ape Yacht Club, Punks Comic, and G Money. And they're actually creating garments that you can wear on your avatar in the metaverse. But then there's a notion of actually having it on yourself in real life. And I think that'll happen a ton. Like Nicole was saying, to be able to try on a bunch of different outfits, see how they look, see how they drape on you. And then you're like, great, I'm going to wear this to my next meeting. Oh, but I want this in real life. And to be able to press a button and be able to actually get that in your size.
Yeah.
I was just going to add to what Morgan says. I completely agree with what you're saying. The only thing I'm concerned about with this piece, especially when Zofia, you mentioned about body positivity. I am slightly worried about the body positivity piece of it when we do get into the metaverse, just because of, and the only reason why is this is history. So for instance, we had bullying on the playground. Social media came out, then we had cyberbullying. The metaverse came out, what did we see? Bullying, right? And harassing. That is an issue. And it just keeps escalating. And the scary thing about it by being in social media in social media and metaverse is, especially social media, it was behind closed doors, right? So we've been combating that. Now, the same thing when we look at body positivity. Before, we would be looking at magazines, we'd be looking at the media, we'd be looking at television shows. But now what happened? I love Instagram, but Instagram comes along and all these other amazing, social media platforms. And then it's starting to alter our reality to go, is that, oh, look at how beautiful those people are. I wish my body looked like that. And I'll admit, I am one of those. I suffer from that. And so I look going, oh, I just wish I could look like that. I'll go to the gym 5 times this week, not just 4 times. So it is, and then you have to remember, oh, right, there's filters, there's Photoshop, what's real, what's not. And I think the only issue we have to be careful with is getting into the metaverse and going, how much of that, especially with our avatars, does it reflect us, and how much can we take it to the nth, like that next degree? And I'm just worried that that's going to repeat, just like we've seen the bullying, just like we've seen everything else. So it's how can we control that and also still have this amazing environment? So.
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea of, or the temptation of creating an ideal self in the metaverse, someone who is, digitally perfect, might be quite a big one. Although, having personas, having characters who don't look like you, I think that that's also a really interesting way of kind of expressing your personality. I probably do agree with you, Nicole, when it comes to, self-expression and body positivity in the metaverse. When you're talking about a space which is still kind of mainly dominated by men, I think that, having body positivity come into it from a female perspective might need a little bit more work. And I was wondering actually with you guys, what do you think about the metaverse in terms of that dynamic? There is a kind of creator shift right now going on. There are more female creators getting involved. Do you think that there's more needed in terms of that collaboration there?
I would say it would be lovely to see in Web 2.0, less than 2% of women founded companies were funded. So it would be lovely to see. Right now, I have to say, I'm loving to see all the women. No offense, guys, love you all. But it is amazing to see these women take a forefront. And we definitely, especially Web 3.0 companies, we need to see more female founders being funded. That's a side note, but I'll leave it off to you guys. I love seeing the women kind of help lead this world. So.
Yeah. Morgan, Matthew, any kind of thoughts on, the creator side of things?
I mean, it's always beneficial to have as many minds as possible working towards a common goal, right? So, I can't say anything else other than, I fully support the idea that more women are becoming involved. And sure, as Nicole said, part of how we open those doors is through funding, right? That's what kind of makes the world go around, as unfortunate as that is. That's where we are. And we have to see that. We have to see more people stepping up, supporting that, because it's only going to help things grow at a faster rate and open more doors for all of us eventually. There's the creative mind of women is a wonderful thing and shouldn't be hidden from anyone. I look forward to seeing what they can contribute moving forward into 3.0 and hope it's a bigger role than in the past.
I'd just like to point out too that, what the amazing thing is, well, at least we're seeing in our company, is a good portion of our virtual sample makers are actually men. And it's incredible to see. We're seeing both male, female, like you name it. It's, and we're also very making sure that when we're designing, when we're doing anything with avatars as well, it's that people can select. It's like male, female, non-binary, like it is It is super, super important, as well as gender neutral in everything that we're doing. So, but it is, I have to say, it is great. And what Matthew said is, it's great to see these creative minds come. But I do want to give a shout out to my amazing creative guys at our company, because we do have several of them.
So I like the service, the social VR service called VR Chat. So in that space, you can become anyone. So you can see like banana walking around, or TV walking around, like, you know, or like sometimes the Dragon Ball characters walking around. So in that space, like open platform, you can bring any character to that side, and then there's no, like, you know, discrimination, or it's all inclusive. But I think you should like separate between like professional use case and the personal use case. And in the personal use case, if you have this kind of open platform, then the issue will be is very minimal. And also one good thing about, I mean, talking about fashion, one good thing about the metaverse is like 3D design. You know, there's no like volume limitation. Like in real life, you know, when you manufacture like the physical asset, there should be like guaranteed, like, I don't know, like 10K or 100K to manufacture that design. But in digital space, you can easily change the small thing, and then you also can have your own customized version of your fashion. So it's not just about like between like male and female, but also about like skin color or like age, um, or it can be you know, LGBT things. But in metaverse, you can have your own design. It can be, you know, in real life, you may be the male, but what do I say, in digital world, you can wear anything you want. I mean, there's some feature that you can grade, like grading feature between like male or female or design wise. So like you will, I mean, you cannot tell if like that person is like female or male, or the skin with the black or white. So I think that's the beauty of the avatar and the metaverse space that you can have.
Brilliant. Yeah, I actually had a quick question for Morgan, because obviously I know you mentioned Fortnite before, and I have seen the game played multiple times now. You know, when you first kind of launch into the game, you don't really get a choice of characters. You get launched in as a man or woman. It doesn't really depend on skin color. Like, you're basically launched into the space just as an avatar with no personalization, and that only comes in later. Like, do you think that games, you know, that are informing so much of our kind of understanding of the metaverse and the way that they approach this kind of avatar concept, is that something that you think more kind of metaverses should be doing, or do you think that that personalization option should be there from the beginning?
Yeah, and actually it's a really good point. So yeah, Fortnite updated that. So the personalization option's available from first play. So from first play, you can pick, yeah, man, woman, you know, a cartoon character, kind of like whatever you want. And when I first started, I've been playing Fortnite for about 5 years. I've been a lifelong gamer, really like Fortnite, was involved with Second Life and kind of some earlier metaverses. And what's interesting is, I think they've gotten a lot better. You know, they do, first off, when it comes to like selling digital clothing, nobody sells more than Epic Games. Like, they're doing over $1 billion a year just in digital clothing. They sell more digital clothing than Nike, Adidas, everyone combined. That'll change, I think, you know, with, you know, the help of a lot of people on this panel. More digital clothing will be sold through, you know, more traditional fashion means than gaming. But they've done a really good job now where you can, yeah, like you start out and you pick your avatar. And I thought initially, because, you know, the avatar and the outfit, and you can change the backpack and all different kinds of stuff. None of it impacts the gameplay at all. And so when I first started playing Fortnite, I thought, well, why would you ever change this? Like, it doesn't really matter, right? And now I probably buy 2 or 3 new outfits a month, like digital outfits. I can only use them in Fortnite. It kind of feels ridiculous. But it actually makes a huge difference. And I realized, like, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier and a question you asked earlier about like self-expression, I think we're just moving into a time where people can feel more comfortable expressing themselves in ways that they never have before. And I think that also, going back to like fashion and fashion designers, gives them the opportunity to design things they wouldn't necessarily design in real life. A really good example is the Fabricant. They're doing such a really cool job designing digital only garments, and some of the stuff they've designed, it's like a work of art, right? And it's something that like some of them you may never wear in real life. They may not be even capable of being created in real life, but you can wear it in the metaverse and it's so expressive. And so I feel like we're not only giving people the opportunity to express themselves in a way they might not before, but we're also giving designers a lot more flexibility to design things that might not work in the real world, but do work in the metaverse and allow them to express their artistic creativity in a whole new way.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that, or whether I can move on to the next question. All right. Well, I think that, you mentioned quite a lot of fashion brands are getting involved in this. And I guess, more widely, not just looking at fashion brands, but all brands right now. How do you think that brands can kind of encourage inclusivity in Web3? I think anyone, if you can start.
Well, so if you're talking about from the apparel side of things, I mean, something that we're kind of already doing now in the real world is obviously designing garments for different body types and shapes and sizes. So continuing that in the metaverse and Web3 world, I think is obviously a no-brainer, something you must do. So continuing that, I mean, they're already designing digitally for garments using plus size models in 3D that we've created, and so on and so forth. We even are doing gender neutral sizing now with a lot of companies, and we're creating avatars that are fitting that line of gender neutral sizing. So I think something like that and continuing that moving forward is like I said, a no-brainer for the metaverse as well.
That was the exact same thing I was going to say as Matthew. It's just the more information and data that these, these type of companies out there can provide these brands is going to help them, one, be able to better design both in real life, but also, and for their consumer base, but also into the metaverse, and making sure, like we said, that we're looking at all different facets, like Matthew had mentioned. So that's exactly what I was going to mention. So
a lot of this is why we created our body data NFT, which is essentially all of your body measurements stored in NFT by you. And so for brands, I think it really means, and this is going to be a shift that we'll see happen, I think, pretty quickly, keeping fit and sizing in a metaverse experience and not having to go back to a Web 2 experience. And so, right now, if you're trying something on in Decentraland, and the kind of only mechanism to buy it is to click a link that then goes to this, 2D catalog website that, our current e-com sites are kind of like the evolution of the Sears catalog, right? It's like just the same thing, but like on a computer screen or on an iPad. And I think that more and more consumers are going to expect that entire end-to-end experience to happen in the metaverse. And so they may get an outfit and maybe they have a totally photorealistic avatar and they're trying on different things and they want to buy that. And, there has to be a mechanism that brands adopt to be able to leverage, both the privacy of that person. Like they may not want to give out that information publicly. And that's where NFTs come in. Like you can have that in your own wallet. You can keep that private. You control that. Like self-custody, I think, is a core part, obviously, of Web3. And then being able to allow them to buy that seamlessly in a metaverse experience. And then, kind of to Matthew's point, making sure that the options are available so that you don't have to be as confined, especially now that you have, sample making can be digital sample making. Now you have the ability to create a much wider range of outfits, more expressive, and let people transact as they would in the real world, but doing it in the metaverse, but doing it with privacy at its core.
I just want to add on to what Morgan said, because he brought up a very good point about people's data and ownership. I think it's very important too, especially those, I won't name what companies what's happening out there, and because the modeling agencies are facing this. But as people are creating avatars of themselves, it's making sure that we are empowering the end user, the consumer, the person making their avatar, either whether it's getting scanned, creating an avatar, whatever that is, that they have that ownership of their data. That is super important, and that it's them, that we empower the end user, or the person, well, the user of the avatar, that they get to say who, when, where, how it gets exported, what areas, and what metaverse lands that are being used in, if it's being used in the real world as well. And they're the ones that give the permission. They're the ones that say yes. And they're the ones that look at us and say, delete it off your servers. And it gets deleted, because especially when we're scanning, people are collecting those measurements. As Morgan pointed out, we have to be super careful. And really, the way we look at it is, we don't own data. We host the data and we secure the data. And that's all that we do. We don't share the data with anybody. It's the end user that has to give that brand or that platform the ability to have access to it, and also in how much access. So
yeah, spot on. Honestly, that's the shift, right, from Web 2 to Web 3. Web 2 is, you give data to a company, you're not exactly sure what they do with it. You have to ask them, hey, can you remove my data? Can you delete my account? Web 3 is, I own my data. I decide who uses it and when they use it. And that's really giving the power back to the people.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I know that it's relatively timely, but with Apple's conference this week, the idea of kind of holding onto your health data is just going to be an expansion of that, to include body measurements, to include, those kind of points where you'll basically have a digital passport of yourself that will both inform, your physical experiences, but also the things that you'll be able to do with your avatar, whether that's shopping online and, kind of digitally fitting yourself, or whether that would be, with an avatar that you would actually use for something more fun like gaming. And I think that that's a really interesting kind of concept to go on. I think that that's something that is going to keep happening with brands, and especially, as you said, Nicole, that idea of security and making sure that ownership stays with the consumers is a key kind of point with Web3 and the philosophy that stands behind it.
Thank you all. This was such a wonderful, passionate, very beautiful conversation. I'm really grateful to have such important voices at the center of this conversation as well. It's innovators and change makers like all of you who are really driving the future, and it's good to know that the future is in good hands. There were some wonderful ideas that have been raised here, very passionate voices, and I think it's so important to keep that passion alive on these topics like body positivity, avoiding bullying, and bring those conversations into the talk around avatars and how we're creating them. So I hope that the future looks very bright. I think having all of you involved in it is definitely going to drive things in a positive direction. So thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for having us.
I look forward to the
Really
next conversation as well, when hopefully we'll have seen some more positive change and how we're moving forward. But thank you for your voices.
Brilliant.
Thank you for giving us a platform to speak.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you.